Superfish have sent us another all-in-one kit aquarium. So this is the Superfish Start 70 Tropical Kit, and it is one of the most affordable 2-foot tanks or 60cm tanks that you can buy. Not only do you get a lidded tank that's a decent size, but you also get a bunch of accessories coming with it as well, including a filter and a heater. Okay, I think we should get this bad boy out and have a little look what you get inside. Well, I know what you get because it's on the box. And the fish that we're going to be putting in the tank are in here. So these are female bettas. I've had them, a year and a half, I think. Yeah, about a year and a half now. I originally had a massive group, but I slowly whittled it down and took some back. I did have them in a massive tank. And these are my favourite ones of the group. Now, some of you are going to be saying, oh no, look at the stress stripes. These certain fish with the stress stripes have always had those stripes. It's their coloration. And you can see the other ones that are near them as well. They don't have those because that's their coloration. It's just how it is. Well, either that or they're always stressed. But then thinking about it, if they were, would they still be alive after all this time? But yeah, we're going to create a really nice environment for these today. They've been in here for a good, it's getting on for 7-8 months now. And they deserve something bigger, better, and a bit more exciting. But they're a really good group. They seem to get along really well. Their colours will come out a lot better in a different tank as well because they're quite sort of muted at the moment. So the tank can come in 2 colours. Well, not the glass, obviously, but the rims and the hood. And I've gone for the white one because I think it will match really well with a previous setup I did from Superfish. There we go. Look at that. I would say that this is the perfect size fish tank if you had to pick. Well, I would pick 4 foot because I've got the space. But if you don't have space for a 4 foot, this is the best size because you can do so much with it. This is the perfect dimensions. You don't want it too deep that you've got to like put so much sand and things like that in. But you do want a half decent amount of height so you can actually show off your scape. And yeah, looking good. So yeah, with the kit, you get the heater, which I'm not going to need because I heat the room, but you might. A net, because you can never have enough. Thermometer, filter, and some tap water purifier and some beneficial bacteria to get things started. So that is everything you would need to get started other than fish, water, hardscape and all of that. So yeah, I went for the white rim because over here, it's going to look great next to this one. And this one's also got a black background on, so I'm going to put a black background on this new tank as well. And to do that, I use black masonry paint, the smooth variety, mainly because it goes like a plastic film and it's easy to scrape off if you want. A little sponge roller, and a heat gun is optional, but it does massively speed up the process. There we go, a pure black, and you can't see through it at all. Right, let's get it in the position that I'm actually going to be scaping and keeping it in, put the lid on, and show you the lighting as well. So we've got our lid here, we've got a nice little flap for feeding and everything like that, so you don't have to lift it up. Not that it's too hard, it's just a bit of a pain, isn't it? And we've got one LED strip, and as you can see, there is a gap for a second one, should it be needed. I am not sure yet. I mean, I'm thinking for a low-tech scape, that one light is probably going to be enough. If you put too much in, all we're going to do is get a ton of algae. Oh, I need to hide that as well. It's very ugly. You go away. There we go, that looks better. Yeah, I think what I'll do is just scape everything first, and if I need to add some more LED strips, then I can, because I've also got these 2 here. Now, these are optional extras. They don't cost a huge amount for upgrading the lighting if you need to. So this one's just pure whites. This one's whites and reds as well. Just gonna see how it goes. Saying all that though, I can't very well scape it with the lid on, can I? And if I remove the lid, I also remove the lights, which is fine when you're at home, but making a production for you guys, that doesn't really work. So I also have a spare 60cm Superfish scaper light here. Oh, no, it's fine. So I can just put this over the rim. Now, if you want to, you can upgrade to this light. You can buy it separately. It's really, really good value for money as well. It looks sleek, so there is options to upgrade with this tank as well, lighting-wise. I mean, all of these lights that are in it will definitely do the job. It just depends if you want to go open top or not. Not everyone does, so it's both options, really. There we go. I think that looks great, especially with the black background. I'll put the lid on at the end, obviously, and swap out some of the tubes as well, just to see what colors we can get. But yeah, for scaping, obviously, I need this gap, don't I? Right, composition-wise, I'm gonna switch things up a little bit because we've got all of them with open, flat foreground and then sort of staggered backwards. What's that composition? Concave, convex, one of those, but like all of them have got like flat fronts, if you know what I mean. So I wanna make this one a little bit different. I'm gonna go for a triangular composition. You might notice I've shoved it up as well because I wanna put a little nanoscape in there. I think that'd be cool. So yeah, triangular composition, but for that, first of all, we need nutrients down in this back corner. And to start with, I'm gonna put in some Nutri-Base. Just fire this in the back corner. It's really good stuff. It's got like loads and loads of nutrients in it. It's also got dormant bacteria as well, which means starting a tank is way faster. That's what I found anyway. Use the Nutri-Base and you're like doing really well after just a week. So I'm gonna put the Nutri-Base in the back corner, sort of raised up. We want the thickest area of substrate in this back area because that's where most of the planting is gonna be. I then thin it out as it comes closer to the foreground. And then on top of that, I'm placing some pond soil. Now this is just like regular soil, but it's had some of the nutrients removed, so it's not quite as potent, which is good because if it comes up into the water column, not an issue. You can get this stuff from like most garden centres or pond places. I'm then taking some recycled substrate, which is a mixture of sand and gravel, and just capping over the whole lot just to lock it all down. It's also going to add extra substrate to plant into, but this won't be the final layer. The decorative layer is the final one. I also like to pat everything down just to make sure there's no gaps, and then I use a flattening tool to just scrape it away from the foreground because it's not what we want to be seeing when the scape is done. Okay, that's all the boring stuff out of the way, but absolutely necessary. I even do this when I'm not putting a ton of plants in the substrate as well. I just find it makes a better balance for the tank. You've got this full-on system underneath that just works. But that's not what we're doing in this one. This one we're putting lots of plants and not a medium amount of hardscape, I'd say. Now, rocks for our border, we've got quite a bit of cereal stone. We've got quite a few rounded pebbles in the crate. And then we've got quite a lot of dragonstone as well, which I think will lend itself to this tank quite well. Plus, I haven't got any dragonstone in any of the other scapes up here, and I'm trying to keep them all a little bit different, so I think that'll work well. Now, the great thing about having dragonstone is that it kind of scapes itself. You just sort of chuck it in, and because it's all detailed, even a pile of it looks good. But for this one, we're deliberately putting it in like a retaining wall, which can look a bit odd on its own, but once we put the rest of the plants in, and the wood as well, it will tie it all together really well. Plus, dragonstone is also really good for being able to put epiphyte plants in, like, you know, Anubias and Java ferns. I find that the bonsai Anubias works really well with dragonstone. Now keep going with this, piling in rocks until you've created what you consider a wall that will lock sand behind it. Because in the sand behind it is where we're going to put our plants, and it's like the dividing line between the foreground and the background. You can create a really neat open foreground, or you can use aquasoil or something like that and plant a load of Monte Carlo to get a full carpet. In this one, I want to do it just sand though, keep it simple. There we go, look, looking good. Added in a couple of little extra smaller bits in the foreground as well, just to bring the dragonstone out a little bit, and I think that adds quite nicely to it. But now, cap everything again with your decorative sand, or you can even just cap the foreground if you're looking to save, but I'll just add more everywhere. So I've got some spare play sand, which I'm going to put at the back, just because the decorative sand, I haven't got a huge amount of it, so anything will do, you see, just to cap with in the areas we're not going to see the sand. Not that there's anything wrong with the play sand, it's just a different colour tone to what I actually want to be seen in the scape. It's also nice and fine as well, so it locks down any particles underneath. And then in the foreground, I've got a pool filter sand, and you can see it's a lot more sort of white in comparison to the play sand. I think if I use the play sand with the dragonstone, the colours will just mix, there won't be much contrast, and most of the time, if you can create contrast with your rocks and sand, it looks a lot better than if they all merge in as one. Okay, looking good, and now it's time to get the perfect piece of wood for this scape. And welcome to Wood World. Okay, right, let's have a little look. We can't have anything too big. Now, do I go for a brand new piece? I always sort of leave the brand new pieces of like spiderwood because they got this colour. It doesn't stay that colour, it goes like all the other browns. I'm always put off using it to start with because it just doesn't look great, but maybe for this one I should try it fresh as if it's you guys buying some from the shop. That bit's actually pretty good. I think I want that bit. And it should sit nicely in this area. Looking at that, that's a lot in one bit. Can I manipulate it to sit a little bit differently? I can, but it's huge, it's pretty big. I think, if anything, I need to snap off that bottom and it could work. There we go, I snapped off the bottom bit, and that means I can get it in about there.
I think that works a lot better. This is nothing groundbreaking, by the way. It's just your traditional sort of triangular composition. So we've got room here. All the plants will be able to be seen. We've got room for our filter as well, because we don't want that on show really, so we can put it behind the plants in this section. And then we're going to need something here as well, I reckon. So I've cut up a smaller piece. Hopefully it sits good. Yeah, I think that works perfectly. I can see straight away. Got some good contact points as well, because we're going to need to glue this wood. It's never been used. That's just keeping everything going, keeping the same sort of theme of wood. Loads of spaces for planting as well. And there's places in between it all. So I'm now going to use the Superfish glue. It's like a gel and works way better for putting hardscape on rocks. And it's a simple case of finding some contact points like here and just splodging it on. Now this is of course rather boring, but very necessary, because this wood's brand new and will definitely float up, and there's nothing worse than that when you've spent ages getting everything right and in position. Try and get as many contact points as you can, because you can't really put too much on. Always better to be safe than sorry. And you can either be patient and wait overnight for that to dry, or you can do what I do and get some of this stuff, which I'll leave a link for, spray it on, it goes hard straight away. And it's not bad for fish or shrimp or anything. I've used it loads of times with no problems. You only need a tiny bit as well. That's already stuck down. Okay, that is all not going anywhere, and now it's time for some planting. And I am talking about you guys. This is my little greenhouse for plants. All of the ones you can see in here, or the whole studio actually, are from Aquafleur. Look at the quality of those. Oh, let me get them out. I want some really nice Java ferns, but not too big. If I remember, oh, there they are. We've got some Java fern at Windeloff, which is smaller, but will work perfectly for our smaller scape. Obviously, I'll put a big one in as well. One sort of main feature one, I think will be awesome. Yeah, just look at that. The quality from Aquafleur, absolutely huge. All the leaves are perfect. Just what we want from our Java ferns. And there is no better place for this absolutely gorgeous plant than right in there. That works so well. And then making sure we keep that pathway open in the middle. The other one can come on this side. Maybe we can sort of pinch it in there. Yeah, that's cool. Then we've got room for some more sort of Anubias down underneath. I often find it's quite good to put Java fern on the top parts, Anubias in the dividing line between the wood and the rock, and it seems to tie everything together really well. Such a nice piece, that. Might need to glue it though. Yeah, I've just stuck some glue on it just to make sure it sticks on that part of the wood, because I don't want it sort of going anywhere else. Glue's on, just hold it down for 10 seconds. I sprayed the reactor onto the wood and then the glue onto the plant base, and then it could just stick there, because these plants don't have to be put in the substrate, they pull all their nutrients from the water column. There we go, that's not going anywhere now. And then I've got some amazing little pieces, look, of Anubias. There's bonsai and the normal Nana in there, I think. And look, that'll just lodge in there. It looks like it's been growing there forever. Then I've got the larger Nana for this side. Not Nana like your Nana. Mind you, it's spelt the same. Just wedging it in. Perfect. It's subtle there, but the subtleties all sort of bring everything together. Keeping that gap in the middle at the moment. A little bit of Anubias wants to sit in that gap though. Oh, even better, I've got a nice piece of, oh, you can't see it there, let me just put it in. It's a piece of Bus glued onto a rock. That means I can tilt it forwards as well. Yeah, nice. That looks so good. Then I've also got some Bus Thiea, I think it's pronounced, which is one of my favourites. That can sit there like that. That looks amazing. Loving that. And then I just want, oh, hello, buddy. Then I just want to close out this corner with a bit more Anubias Petite. So that can sit right in the gap, look. Just creates that illusion then that we've got an island more, because it's all enclosed now. But that is perfect. It looks so good. So for the next part, I'm just going to fill the tank up. I find it a lot easier to plant stem plants when the water's already up. You can see exactly what height they're sitting at and you know how to shape them a little bit better. If I was to put them all in now, they all flop over. When I like fill up with water, they're just kind of everywhere. It will make the water a little bit murky, but it's okay, not a problem. Get that clean in no time. So there we go, we're filled up. I think the next job should be to get the filter in the back corner, so then when I plant, I know exactly where I'm planting and where to avoid. And the filter that comes with the kit is more than capable of doing the job. 400 litres per hour, you know, up to 100 to 200 litres. Well, you know, that's plenty powerful for what we've got. Plus, we are putting BETTA fish in here as well, so they
don't like a lot of flow. So it's a decent size. It's also, if I remember how to do this, bottom, there we go. Oh, no, that's the top. There we go. So inside of here, we have got activated carbon inside, and then just like mechanical filtration with the sponge as well. So very good, and that's fine enough as well to get the water crystal clear. There's also a little controller here to control the flow rate if you do want to turn it down. We might need to, we'll just see. And there's also a spray bar, which I will be utilising. Again, it just keeps the flow spraying over that top area. It means that there's plenty of spots in a tank where the fish aren't going to be blown around. So yeah, I'm going to put it right in this back corner. And the good news is with the black background as well, look, you can barely see it. Oh, there we go, that's about the right height. Switch it on. Okay, there we go. Right, that's currently on full flow, and it's only skimming across the top, but look, the rest of the water column is pretty gentle, I'd say. So I think we can keep it like that for now. Maybe turn it down a little bit whilst we're doing the plants. There we go, there's the lowest setting. Actually, yeah, that's perfect. We don't need any more than that. Now for planting in the back section, I think it'll be really, really cool to just use red plants. You've got all that green in the sort of mid-ground and then just an explosion of red behind it. I think it would look awesome. And for that, I'm gonna use a load of plants from the barb tank. Now it needs to trim up anyway, so this is the perfect way. Trim it right back, and I've got tons of red stems to be able to use. Now I'm gonna be brutal and go in really deep with the scissors and cut down nice and low to make sure we can see all the plants in the other tank over the top. So like right down at the base of these plants I'm trimming, because they're not really receiving any light down there anyway. So by doing this, the regrowth will come right from that bottom section and fill it all out nicely again. There we go, massive trim up there. I've left a few at the back because, you know, I like the redness in there. But this is how much I've managed to take out. There's a lot there. I'm going to use all of them because why not? So what I've done is clumped all of the plants up together, put a little bit of paper towel around them, and then a plant weight, ceramic plant weight. These plant weights come in with the delivery of plants from Aquafleur, and I keep them and use them for instances like this. And now all I've got to do is slot each one where I want it, and I can just get the right shape and everything then, because some are taller, some are shorter, so foreground and background. There we go. Now we just need to let the tank sort of clear, and then we can put the fish in. But I do want to bring the brightness down a touch. It's not quite as bright as the camera's making it appear, but if I put some floating plants in the top here, they'll go over to this section, take some of the brightness down off of the white sand, and I think that's going to be better for the betta fish. Better for the betta fish. So I'm adding in the mini water lettuce just because it's the most easily manageable. You could just come in and take it out whenever it gets a bit too much, which is always quite quickly. It's going to collect in that back section for sure, but that's all right. There we go, look, a couple of days later, everything's looking really clear, although there is a slight tint to the water, and that's to be expected coming off the spiderwood, and also these funny little fungusy things here. That's very, very common for this type of wood, so nothing to worry about. What I'll do is I'll brush those off with a toothbrush, and then just change like half the water, something like that, and that'll sort of reset it back to perfect conditions to put in the fish. So I just want to add a little bit more detail to the foreground area. So I've got some pebbles here, got 5 pebbles, and I've got some stringy moss. I'll probably use all of that and a little bit more as well. It's called stringy moss. I've never used it before. Apparently it grows sort of tall and stringy, and I think that might look quite cool in the tank. Just going to glue some of it to each pebble, and then you can just place it wherever we want it. Now the moss grows in this sort of gel, so you do have to wash that off first. There we go, all washed off. And now it's just a case of dividing it up however big you want it. I'm just going to go in half. Placing some glue on your rock. Don't want too much because otherwise it would like seep through the moss. And then just lay it on. Press it down. And the whole rock is covered then. You can't see the rock at all, and it just looks like these perfect little mossy stones. Here we go then, I've got 5 nice pieces, and we can just place them wherever we want. Look at that, just sort of blends it all in nicely and brings it together. Nice big one there, I reckon. Let's have a little smaller one out in the foreground. And then one in this section. And then I think one more down here as well. Perfect. And they'll just continue to grow as they want. They'll probably cling to bits of the rock and make their way everywhere. Got to keep on top of trimming with moss. I mean, when you've got one tank, it's quite easy, but I've got so many that you turn around and come back and it's everywhere. But this one, I'll keep it short. Now, you could, if you wanted, add more detail to that foreground area, but I've added sort of like scatter stones and gravel in all of the other tanks in this sort of area. So I'm thinking just keep it plain, a little bit different then, and it does create like a real sort of clean look. But first of all, let's put the original hood on, take off the Superfish Scaper light, and just see where we're sitting. Because to be honest, that's a lot of light for this tank. It's going to get algae on that sand. So just for comparison, you guys ever wondering if anything's too much light? I'd say for that bright level of sand there, it will cause algae. So let's put the hood on, which has got one bar in. We've currently got this one strip bar in. If we need to add the other one, we can. Let's just see how one does first. Oh, there we go, look, that is looking good. Yeah, I like that. I'm definitely sticking with that. It's not too bright. Obviously the camera does compensate, but that is looking a perfect sort of light level for me, for the betters to be able to enjoy it. They don't like it too bright, you see, but they have got plenty of places to hide for cover. Those floating plants that you can see in there will multiply very quickly as well. But yeah, we're ready to put our fish in. Come on girls, let's get you out of this boring tank. So here we go then, in goes our group of girls. Now remember, all temperatures matching. So they're all good, straight in. Okay, so now some of them are showing the stress stripes, as you'd imagine, because they usually don't show them, but some of them are because we've just put them in a new tank and taken them out the other one, so that's understandable. And now that the fish are in, I'm gonna add in some beneficial bacteria because this is a new filter in there. Now what that's gonna do is seed the whole tank. Now we've got such a low bioload in there that there's not really going to be anything to cause ammonia spiking or anything like that. But what I will do is I'll come in tomorrow morning, I'll test the water, make sure there's no spikes in ammonia or nitrite, and then if there isn't, I'll just leave the tank, just let it do its thing. But if there is, I'll do a 50% water change, and I'll just continue doing that until it's showing no signs of ammonia. Now this is called a fish-in cycle, and I do it a lot with great success. If you're not accustomed to doing it, I suggest starting with just one fish only and putting it in. Then over the course of like another week or so, maybe put a couple more in and then a couple more up until the actual final number that you want to actually add. I find it completely safe to do this. Just don't rush the process. There's no need to really, is there? Obviously, I'm doing it a little bit different because I'm producing a finished video for you all in one go, and I have a lot of experience with it now. But look at this. Look at how good the lighting is. I'd say this is absolutely perfect light for this tank with these fish. The plants will continue to grow and they'll stay red as well. And the light that comes with the kit is the one that we're seeing here. So all of this is included. And I have to say, I think that is fantastic value for money. You're getting this whole thing for around £100. I mean, that's crazy, isn't it? €110, something like that. Full kit, everything you need. Obviously, not plants and substrate and that sort of thing. But remember, with any tank, when you start, get big pieces of hardscape like you can see here, and as many plants as you can afford. The more you put in, the easier it is to start, the less chance of algae, and the more beautiful it looks as well. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this one, guys. It's given you some inspiration. Remember, if you're going to do a BETTA sorority with girls like this, all of these came from the same batch when they were young, which does help a lot, but also they've been together a long time. I suggest making sure if you do go for a BETTA sorority, heavily plant the tank. Like already, loads of them are going in and exploring these plants. They can find their own little zones and territories, and that's the key really. In the other tank it was a little bit different, and they've been in there for a long time, and like I say, they're so used to each other. But if it's a new group, definitely tons and tons of plants, breaking up lines of sight and that sort of thing, little caves, little areas for them to go in. So what I found is the stress stripes that look like that are not stress stripes, they're like jaggedy. So when they're jaggedy, it tends to be more of their coloration, rather than when they're straight, it tends to be like because they're stressed. Like that one there is obviously where he's just gone in, or she's just gone in, sorry. This one's probably the boss of the tank, hence just a fully block coloured, or they just might not. Oh, look at it, yeah, of course. We've got the male BETTA right next to him. I'm going to have to put a slot in there. I'm going to have to put some paper in between this gap because that'll be just too much for him and her constantly. And to be honest, there's potential to put one across and do a little bit of breeding. I'm going to have to read right up on that though, because I know that if you don't like monitor it and do it for too long, the males can kill the females eventually. So Yeah, that's one to look forward to though. A little bit of breeding. I think that's going to be the prize one because that is the dominant female of the tank for sure. Look at this. He's showing off. He's flaring and everything. Let me come round. Yeah, he could see. Very interested. So out of the group, there's only a couple that actually have the stripes all the time. I'm pretty sure this one is usually a full block of colour, but give it a couple of hours, they'll be settled right in. I mean, it's a far better tank, and even in the other tank, which didn't have all this cover and everything, they were still fully block colours. So yeah, pretty happy with how it's all turned out. But yeah, deliberately a nice simple design here that everyone can replicate. Give it a go if you're interested, and take a look at this tank. If it's going to be your first tank, I'd say this is a great first buy. Hope you've enjoyed this one, and I'll see you on the next one.